Hey guys, so I'm going to show you how I made this really cool crochet top, and I think it's perfect for summer. You can just wear it on top of a bikini or something, and it's very light and colourful. And in my opinion, pretty beginner friendly, pretty easy to make. To start, I made a slip knot and inserted my 8mm hook and began making a chain that was 22 inches long. And I got that measurement from measuring the width of my favorite jumper that I really like the fit of, and I just measured the width and that was 22 inches long, so that's why the chain is starting to be 22 inches long. But if you want a different size, obviously just measure what you want. Once I'd finished the chain, I then chained another 2 stitches like so, and then I double crocheted into the 3rd stitch, so I skipped those 2 stitches. And then I did another 2 double crochets into the same stitch. I then chained 1, and then I skipped 1 stitch, and then did 3 double crochets into the 2nd stitch from the last stitch I just crocheted into, so yeah, skipping 1 stitch. So once I'd done those 3 double crochets, I then chained 1, and then I skipped 1 stitch, and then did 3 double crochets into the 2nd stitch from that stitch that I just crocheted into. So I just repeated that pattern the whole way along the chain, so skipping 1 stitch, doing 3 double crochets into the 2nd stitch from the stitch I just crocheted into, and chaining 1 and just repeating. So once I'd finished the first row, I then chained 1, and then I did 3 double crochets into the first gap that was there. Then again chain 1, and then do 3 double crochets into the next gap. Then chain 1, and then do 3 double crochets into the next gap. And if you don't know how to double crochet, you just wrap your yarn around the hook, insert your hook into the gap, and then pull through the first 2 loops, and then pull through the second 2 loops. So then I just repeated that pattern the whole way along the chain again, So chaining one and then doing 3 double crochets into each gap, and then chaining one between each gap, that you do the 3 double crochets into, and yeah, just repeat that the whole way along. And again, you're just going to repeat that, so chaining 1 and then doing 3 double crochets into the first gap, and then yeah, just repeating that the whole way along the row again. So yeah, chaining 1 and 3 double crochets into each gap, and then chaining 1 between each gap, and yeah. So I just repeated this until I had like a rectangle shape that was 9.5 inches long and obviously 22 inches along the width. So once I had made it 9.5 inches long, I then just measured 5 inches from each side and I put a stitch marker there. So this is just the size of the sleeves, and also you can make this as long as you want to, so just whatever size you want. I just made it 9.5 inches because I wanted it to be that size, and then yeah, I just repeated the same pattern, so chaining 1 and then doing 3 double crochets into each gap, and I just repeated that, and then I just turned when I got to the stitch marker, so that was kind of the end of the row when I got to the stitch marker, and when I got to the end, obviously I turned my work. So yeah, as you can see, I turned my work when I got to the stitch marker and then started a new row. And I just kept doing each row until it measured 3.5 inches, like the extra part, and then yeah, so I just kept on doing it until it measured 3.5 inches, and remembering to turn my work when I got to the stitch marker and the end. So when the sleeve part was 3.5 inches, I then chained 1, and then I slip stitched into the first gap, as you can see, and then I chained 1, and then I slip stitched into the next gap, and then chained 1, and I just kept doing that. So kind of into each stitch that you see, like along the side, not like on the as a new row, but on the sides, so towards the stitch marker, and then you just keep on doing it along the whole way, kind of along the neckline until you get to the other stitch marker on the other side. So when you get to the stitch marker on the other side, you're going to then do the usual pattern, so doing 3 double crochets into each gap and then chaining 1 between each gap. And I just kept on doing that, and again turning my work at the stitch marker and at the end, so marking kind of a new row when I got to stitch marker and the end, and I just again kept on doing this until that extra, like the sleeve part, measured 3.5 inches. So once it measured 3.5 inches, I then cut the yarn and tied a knot. And obviously, if you're going to make it, you don't have to do 3.5 inches. I just decided to make the sleeve part that long. But yeah, and then I threaded yarn through a needle, and then I placed, so I made another panel, obviously, because that was just the front panel. And then I placed them both so the sleeve part was like touching each other at the top. So one of them was like obviously upside down, and then I just sewed the top part together, as you can see, like so. And then I obviously did it on the other side, so sewing the top parts together on the other side. So once I'd done that, I then obviously folded it and then began sewing the sides together. And I just kept on sewing it until the top part was 6.5 inches. So I left a hole that was 13 inches because I measured my arm to be 13 inches, but obviously that's just my sizing. And yeah, so I did it on the other side, and then again leaving 6.5 on each side. So in total 13 inches were not sewed together. Like a 13-inch circumference of a circle at the top, just left so I could fit my arms through, obviously. So once I'd done that, I just turned it so it was the right way in, and I just weaved in all the ends, and that was it finished. So this is it completely finished, and I think it looks really nice, and I really hope you try and make it yourself. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.